So hello everybody, my name's Sian. Mike and I have been involved for quite a long time together with a bunch of other people, part of the local, I can't see you, part of the local effort to use these formats, these discussion formats, to bring people together in communities to discuss the stuff that matters to them and make plans about how to make that stuff work in whatever way they want to. So this format can be used for anything. It can be used for a small gathering, it can be used for a large gathering, it can be used for any subject at all. And we think, as part of that resilience building, that if we introduce this format far and wide, communities will be able much better or more easily to come together in future when what is coming down the tracks towards us hits, and to start, it'll have a format and a structure to support them to start working things out together. So the format today, you're in discussion groups, as you can see. Each of your discussion groups is going to be structured. So this discussion structure, the format that we use, is quite structured. And there's a reason for that. The reason for the structure is to make sure that everybody's voice around this table is heard equally, so that gobby, opinionated, confident speakers like me don't dominate your conversations, and those quieter, more reticent people who are less likely to put their hands up to speak are given equal space to do that with everybody else, because quite often those quieter people are the ones with the really good ideas, because they do a great deal of listening. So they need space created for them, and people like me might otherwise ride a bit roughshod over them and hog the time that we've got, because we've got loads of opinions that we want to get out. And there's nothing bad about that. It's just that sometimes you need somebody who's got a role to kind of limit how much you say, so that the space is provided for those other people. So that's the only reason for the structure. And we're asking everybody around the table to actively listen to everybody else when they're talking. So active listening, for anybody who hasn't heard that phrase before, that is just you listening to understand rather than listening to reply. So how you know if you're not active listening is if somebody in your table is talking and you're starting to put together in your mind what you want to say to them when they finish, understand that you're not listening to them anymore. You're just getting ready to speak when they finish. And try to let go, whatever that idea was, just let it go. And have faith that if it's important enough, and if you still want to say it, once they've stopped speaking, it'll come back to you and you can say it then. But try to just refocus your attention on what they're saying and listen to understand rather than to reply. So we're asking everybody to do that. And one of the reasons you've got a facilitator is to try to smooth that process. So you'll be asked to speak one at a time. You'll come in when you want to. You just raise your hand when you want to speak. The facilitator at your table will keep a mental note of who needs to speak next. You'll be in a queue, and we'll bring you in turn. So you won't be interrupting each other. It won't be like a normal conversation. You won't be able to interrupt and have ideas. You can have ideas spontaneously, but you won't be able to just come in with them. If you've got something to say, you'll need to put your hand up. But because you'll find almost certainly that because you're being brought back all the time to just actively listening to what's being said, you might find that what you thought you wanted to say, you don't want to say anymore by the time you've listened to what the person said. So in limiting, we're asking you to limit every time you come in to speak, we're asking you to limit it to 2 minutes. It's not a hard and fast rule, and no one's going to slap your wrists if you go beyond 2 minutes. But there are egg timers on the table, as some of you will have noticed, and that's what that's for. So every time somebody starts to speak, the facilitator will just turn the egg timer over. It's a 2-minute egg timer, and it just lets you know when you're getting towards 2 minutes, so that you can start to wrap up. And if you don't notice that, your facilitator will make this hand signal, and it's just to let you know it's time to start wrapping up. It's not going to cut you dead. It's just time to start wrapping up. And it's not, please don't take it personally. It's absolutely not a reflection on the quality of the content of what you're saying at all. It's all about making sure there's enough space in this very constrained time that we've got for the quieter people to be brought in and share their ideas as well. We need everybody's brains around our tables, not just the confident ones. So there'll be a note taker on your table as well. There might be 2 people, one facilitator and one note taker, or there might be one person doing both roles. The note taker's job is to try to listen out They'll be active listening as well. They'll listen out to the main themes that you're saying, and they'll be making notes of them on post-its. So they'll be drawing out the main themes and making a post-it note for each of the themes that they're identifying. The post-it notes will be stuck on a bit of paper on the table, so they'll be visible to you. You can see them. So if you think your note taker has missed out something hugely important that you said, do let them know, or write it down yourself. Actually, it's probably quicker and less intrusive. Just grab a post-it note and write it down yourself and stick it on the bit of paper. That'll be fine. And then as you start to have ideas about what you want to do, the note taker will be doing the same thing with those. So it sounds a bit clunky, and it might feel a bit clunky, and it does feel different from a normal conversation. So we're just asking you, please trust us and have a go. It does make sure that everybody's voice is heard. That's the reason for it. It means that everybody's properly listened to. And you'll, even if the facilitator asks you to wrap up, know that you have been properly listened to while you were talking. You'll be using that 45-minute, facilitator will time it for you. You'll be using the 45 minutes that you've got to discuss the question that Mike has set out for you, which is, in an ideal world, what do we, the people in this room, think are the best ways for us to gain community support and participation in generating community-owned renewable energy locally and in setting up hay energy. So the focus is on what can we do to bring the community on board with what we want to do. And then the speakers who've spoken today are remaining in the room. So if you need them to come over to your table to inform what you're saying, or you want to ask some questions, you can ask your facilitator to grab one of them. You'll be given a period of time to reflect on what you've written and what you said you wanted to do, and refine it a bit, maybe to deliberate on it a little bit longer. And then you'll be prioritising your ideas into the ones that are most important to you, and the facilitator will keep time for that. And then you'll be feeding back to the whole room. So you'll be feeding back to each table will feed back briefly to the plenary what their main idea was, or what their main ideas were. Each table's only got about a minute to feed back. So in your prioritisation phase, you'll be deciding what your speaker is going to focus on in that minute. In fact, we will go ahead with that. We'll have time to go ahead with that, will we, Mike? We'll see when the time comes. So you'll just nominate whichever is the best speaker in your group to be able to do that. And that is how it's going to work.